He and his family were the only people alive on earth. After the great flood, they repopulated the world. Interesting. Now, the Toltec Indians in Mexico have a very interesting story. They said the first world lasted 1,716 years and was destroyed by a flood that covered the highest mountains. One family named Cox survived. 1,716 years. Well, the Bible dates add up to 1656 from the creation to the flood. But that's not bad for a legend 4,000 years old. Question, why would there be nearly 300 flood legends? I think it's because there was a flood. That's my theory. Okay. Probably the Atlantis legend, everybody's searching for the lost continent of Atlantis. Probably it's another flood legend. As far as the folks on the boat were concerned, the whole world sank beneath the waves. Actually, they were going up. The world wasn't going down. I think Atlantis is another flood story. Anyway, if you look at the country of Turkey, at the far right-hand side, you will see a mountain called Mount Ararat. It is 12 miles from the Russian border. Very politically unstable region. On a Turkish map, it's called Noah Ungamshi, which means Noah's big boat. That's the name of the region. They've got signs, you drive right up to it. Noah's big boat, this way, 5 kilometers. The Bible says the ark rested in the 7th month. Now that's interesting. Noah did not get out till the 13th month. Why would he stay in there for 5.5 extra months after the ark rested? Well, we cover all the reasons why on video number 6, the Hovind theory. But the Bible says it rested in the 7th month upon the mountains of Ararat. Mountains, plural. The Bible does not say the ark landed on Mount Ararat. Read it carefully. It does not say that. It says it landed in the mountains of Ararat. Actually, there are 4 theories about what happened to Noah's ark. Okay? One theory says they took it apart and used the lumber for buildings. Second theory says it rotted. The third theory says it's still on the mountain. And the fourth theory says it's in the valley. And the guys who think it's on the mountain go over there every couple of years on a big expedition. They climb the mountain. They all come back and say, you know, we almost found it. I'm not sure how you can know you almost found something. But anyway, that's what they say. And maybe it's there. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me at all. Okay. But other folks think, hey, guys, it's not even on that mountain. It's down in the valley 17 miles away. And they think that is Noah's Ark right there, that boat-shaped object. Kind of a teardrop shape. In 1960, this was discovered by a high-altitude surveillance plane. In 1978, there was an earthquake, and either it lifted up or the ground dropped down. I don't know. The result's the same. It is now sticking up out of the ground about 18, 20 feet. Ron Wyatt died in 99. He was a good friend of mine. He and many others have spent years studying this thing, but they think it's Noah's Ark. And like I said, honestly, I don't know and I don't care. It doesn't matter to me where it is. And some Christians and creationists get all upset with anybody that mentions there might be another theory besides theirs. Look, my approach to any subject is if there's more than one option, tell everybody all the options and say, here's the various theories on this. Here's why I believe this one, but go ahead and research yourself. I think you ought to look at all the options. Richard Reeves took over for Ron. There he is in front of his model of Noah's Ark that he built. But according to them, the ark has collapsed. Obviously, a boat that old would, cave in and fold out to the side. It's splayed. And so one of the arguments the skeptics use is, well, it's too wide to be Noah's Ark. Well, of course it's too wide. Boats all do that. They fall outwards. You can go to any old rotten boat someplace, you'll see the same effect. But radar scans show that there are deck timbers, some kind of huge timbers in there. Apparently, some kind of big structure. They find iron rivets in there. The ark was bolted together. They knew about iron back then. Not a problem. You can see some of the rivets at the Wyatt Museum south of Nashville, Tennessee. It used laminated wood, 3 layers of wood glued together with a tar-like substance, pitch made from tree sap. And apparently it's like basic plywood, okay? Huge, thick layers of wood. And there's no grain in the wood. Interesting. It's almost like the trees didn't have growing seasons, the wood they were using. Anyway, the Wyatt Museum is a converted gas station just south of Nashville at exit 27 on the northwest corner. You can stop down there and see them. Mrs. Wyatt wrote a book called The Boat-Shaped Object on Doomsday Mountain, with all the research she and her husband had done on that. Apparently, the ark landed close to Mount Ararat, got stuck in the mud. Everybody got off and left, and at some time later, there was a mud flow or a lava flow that pushed the ark down and broke the bottom off. What used to be the keel full of ballast for weight to keep it upright was broken off, and it's way up near the mountain, and the ark has apparently moved down several miles from where it used to be. It used to be way over here at the left at a little village called Kazan, which in Turkish means village of 8. Village of 8. Now, wait a minute. There was 8 people on that boat. But Apparently the ark has drifted down from where it used to be, and that's another long story. But the government of Turkey has studied all this, and they say, yep, that's Noah's Ark. They even built a visitor center. Now, some folks have said, oh, it's not Noah's Ark. It's a boat-shaped object. It's just a flow stone. It's flow formation around a stationary object. When mud flows around something, it makes that teardrop shape, like an airplane wing. Yes, I understand. It does. You're right. But the pointed end of the teardrop is always downstream. The rounded end is upstream, like an airplane wing. This one's backwards. There are flow formations in that area, no question. But this is not one of them. One guy argued it's just a fort. Who would build a fort under a hill? Duh. The guys throw rocks down inside, you know. Anyway, some creationists say it's not Noah's Ark, and they get mad at me for even mentioning. Well, I'm sorry. I'm going to mention it until I start working for you, and then I'll quit, okay? But the Bible says the ark will be 300 cubits long. Now, cubit is elbow to fingertip. I'm 6'1". My cubit is 21 inches. The average standard Egyptian cubit was 20.65, just a hair shorter than mine. That boat-shaped object is 515 feet long, which is 300 Egyptian cubits. So that doesn't prove it's the ark, but it is interesting. It is the right size, okay? It's about 2/3 the size of the Titanic, about 2 football fields long. Pretty good-sized boat. In that region, near the village of Kazan, they found 12 giant rocks that weigh 9,000 pounds. These rocks appear at Kazan, 9,000-pound rock, and they have holes in the top. Apparently, this rock was to be held over the side of the boat to be what's called an anchor stone or a drogue stone. And the hole in the top of the rock is curved. I have drilled a lot of holes in my life. I've done a lot of building construction. I don't know how you would drill a curved hole through a rock. But there they are. When the Sea of Galilee dried up quite a bit here 10 years ago, it exposed all kinds of beach that had never been exposed in centuries. And all around there, they found hundreds of small rocks with holes in them. It's a common practice in stormy areas like that to put rocks around the side of the boat to keep the boat stabilized. Give it some weight. If it gets windy, you drop them down into the water, and you now have a sea anchor all the way around the boat. But anyway, there are a lot of folks who think these rocks were actually drogue stones or sea anchors for Noah's Ark. What this would do, this would make the boat stable during stormy weather. It's almost like you're anchored to the water, if you can imagine that. And if it really gets windy, the rocks are going to drag behind you, and now you're always perpendicular to the waves. You can't capsize. One atheist wrote me a letter, and he said, Hovind, I heard your seminar about Noah's Ark having big rocks hanging over the side. You are so stupid. Don't you know if he had rocks hanging all over the boat, it would slow him down? I wrote back, where was he going? There is no place to go, okay? The whole world's underwater, okay? He's just trying to float. You see, Noah, the instructions are real simple. Get in, sit down, float, land, get out, okay? You don't have to go anywhere. No sails. You don't have to steer the boat, okay? One atheist said, well, a sailboat was built with 6 masts and it leaked so bad because of the twisting from the sail. Well, Noah's Ark didn't have any sails, okay? It just was designed to float. And some people think it might have had a moon pool in the center because a long ship has trouble going over the waves. It tends to lift up and the ends are exposed and it tends to flex or break in the middle. Well, if Noah's Ark had a moon pool, that would solve the problem. What it is, it's a hole in the center. As the waves go up and down, the water goes up and down inside that hole. Of course, you got a wall built up on the inside. It's called a moon pool. As the water goes up and down inside that moon pool, going over the waves, it acts like a giant piston.